Have you ever felt like you're losing yourself in the expectations of others? Constantly bending to the desires of those around you, always afraid of disappointing them? If so, you're not alone. Many people find themselves trapped in the exhausting cycle of people-pleasing, unable to say no, and increasingly disconnected from their true selves. But what if I told you that there is a way out of this trap? A way to reclaim your sense of identity, freedom, and inner strength through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Imagine living a life where your worth is not defined by how many people you can keep happy, but by how true you are to your own values. What if, instead of seeking approval from others, you could find fulfillment and peace within yourself? In this video, we'll explore 10 powerful strategies from Stoicism that will help you stop being a people-pleaser and start living a life full of confidence, autonomy, and meaning. You may ask, why Stoicism? How can an ancient philosophy possibly solve the modern problem of people-pleasing? The answer lies in the Stoic emphasis on inner control, self-respect, and living according to your principles, not the whims of others. Each of the strategies we'll discuss today will offer you a chance to reflect deeply, make more intentional choices, and gradually free yourself from the shackles of external validation. Are you ready to embark on this transformative journey? If so, let's begin with the first and most crucial step on the road to reclaiming your life. 1. Understand the root cause of your people-pleasing. Why do you feel compelled to please others? This question is central to understanding how deeply the habit of people-pleasing has woven itself into your life. Often, people-pleasing is not just about wanting to be kind or helpful. It's rooted in something far more insidious: the fear of rejection, the need for acceptance, or anxiety over being criticized. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you feel the need to accommodate others so frequently? Why, even when it doesn't align with your own needs, do you find it difficult to say no? Many people-pleasers grew up in environments where love and acceptance were conditional, only granted when they met others' expectations. Over time, this survival mechanism becomes ingrained, making external validation feel essential to self-worth. Does that sound familiar? Stoicism invites you to dig deep into your soul and examine your motivations objectively. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. In this case, your people-pleasing behavior is not caused by the demands of others, but by your perception of their reactions. You fear their disapproval because you've made it a measure of your value. But is their approval truly the standard by which you should measure your life? Or should you seek to live in accordance with your own values, finding satisfaction within? Imagine what it would feel like to be free of the constant anxiety of pleasing others. What would you do differently? What dreams would you pursue if you weren't shackled by the need for approval? To break free from this cycle, you must first confront your fear. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Why do I give so much power to the opinions of others? As you begin to identify the root cause of your people-pleasing, you'll realize that the fear of rejection or disapproval is merely a product of your mind. And once you can see it for what it is, it no longer has the same hold over you. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This powerful piece of Stoic wisdom challenges you to define your own identity first, before worrying about the judgments of others. Understanding the root of your people-pleasing is the first step towards reclaiming your life. With this awareness, you can begin to break the chains of external validation and start living in harmony with your own values. Are you ready to dig deep and confront the fears that have kept you trapped in this cycle? Once you begin to understand these underlying causes, you'll be well on your way to stopping the habit of people-pleasing. In the next section, we'll explore how setting clear boundaries is a vital step in protecting your personal space, time, and values. When you understand why people-pleasing takes root, the next challenge is learning how to assert yourself without guilt. 2. Set clear boundaries to protect your values. Once you've begun to understand the root cause of your people-pleasing, the next step is to establish and maintain clear boundaries. Have you ever felt drained, overcommitted, or resentful because you constantly say yes to others, even when it doesn't serve you? If so, it's likely because you haven't set the boundaries necessary to protect your time, energy, and values. But what does it mean to set a boundary? In the context of Stoicism, a boundary is an invisible line that defines what you are willing and unwilling to tolerate. It's a way of asserting that your time, your energy, and your well-being matter. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Boundaries are an expression of that power over your own mind and life. Have you ever stopped to consider how often you allow others to overstep your boundaries simply because you don't want to disappoint them? Or because you fear that setting limits will make you seem unkind or selfish? Reflect on a time when you agreed to something that went against your own values or drained your energy. How did it make you feel afterward? Did that choice bring you closer to your goals, or did it take you further away from them? By setting clear boundaries, you are not pushing people away. Rather, you are creating a space where mutual respect can flourish. When you don't clearly define your limits, others will naturally continue to ask for more, because you've never communicated what is too much. But when you establish your boundaries and uphold them, people will learn to respect your time and values. Stoicism teaches that it is essential to live in accordance with your principles, not the expectations of others. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you need to be harsh or unkind. On the contrary, effective boundary setting requires skillful and honest communication. You can politely decline requests that don't align with your values without offending others. For example, imagine you are working on a personal project and a colleague asks for your help. Instead of dropping everything to assist them, you might say, "I'd love to help, but I'm currently focused on my own work. Can we revisit this after I'm finished?" This simple response sets a boundary while maintaining respect and goodwill. Boundaries are not walls to shut others out. They are bridges that connect people through understanding and mutual respect. Think of a time when you wished you had set a boundary but didn't. How might that situation have turned out differently if you had? Would you have felt more in control of your time and energy? When you begin to set and maintain clear boundaries, you'll notice a profound shift in your life. You will feel more empowered, less drained, and more aligned with your own values. Setting boundaries is not a selfish act. It's an act of self-respect, and as a result, others will begin to respect you more as well. Now that you've learned the importance of boundaries, let's move on to the next crucial step: prioritizing your own needs. By doing so, you'll ensure that you have the energy and focus required to live a life of purpose and authenticity. 3. Prioritize your needs without guilt. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs. If you're a people pleaser, you may find yourself frequently putting the desires of others ahead of your own. But let me ask you, whose life are you really living if you always prioritize others? What happens to your dreams, goals, and well-being when you consistently put yourself last? Stoicism teaches that living according to your own values and needs is not a selfish act. It is a necessary foundation for living a virtuous life. Picture yourself on a plane. When the oxygen masks drop, you're instructed to put your mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you don't take care of yourself first, you won't be able to help anyone else. This is true in life as well. If you constantly neglect your own needs, how can you show up fully for others? Do you often feel guilty for prioritizing your own needs? Do you fear that others will see you as selfish or unkind? These feelings of guilt are common, especially for people pleasers. But consider this. When you give up your own needs for the sake of others, whose happiness are you sacrificing? And does constantly saying yes to others truly make you feel fulfilled? Or does it leave you feeling depleted and resentful? Prioritizing your needs doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you care enough about yourself to make sure your cup is full before you pour into someone else's. Reflect on what activities bring you joy, what goals you are striving for, and what truly matters to you. By making time for these things, you are not only taking care of yourself, you are also ensuring that you have the energy and clarity to support others in a meaningful way when the time is right. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you prioritize your own needs, you improve the quality of your thoughts and your overall well-being. You become more grounded, more present, and more capable of facing life's challenges. Have you ever experienced a moment where you neglected your own needs for too long, only to feel burnt out or disconnected? How might things have been different if you had taken the time to care for yourself first? Taking care of yourself is an act of courage. It means you are willing to step away from the cycle of people-pleasing and embrace your own value. By doing this, you create a life that is more balanced, purposeful, and fulfilling. And remember, when you're strong and centered, you're in a better position to offer genuine support to others. If you're always running on empty, how can you possibly be the best version of yourself? So, take a moment now to reflect. What do you need? What steps can you take today to prioritize your well-being without guilt or apology? If you've found value in this lesson so far, I encourage you to continue watching. Each step builds on the last, guiding you toward a life of greater confidence, autonomy, and inner peace. The next principle will dive deeper into how identifying your core values can help you live more authentically and say no to what doesn't serve you. 4. Identify your values and live by them. At the heart of Stoicism is the idea that we must live according to our own values. But do you know what your values are? If you constantly prioritize others' needs over your own, it's easy to lose touch with what truly matters to you. Identifying your core values is a powerful way to reclaim your life and stop the habit of people-pleasing. What are the principles that guide your life? What beliefs and goals are so important to you that they should never be compromised? These are the questions you must answer to discover your values. When you are clear about your values, you gain a sense of direction and purpose. You no longer feel the need to say yes to everything and everyone because you have a clear internal compass guiding your decisions. Living by your values also makes it easier to say no without guilt. Imagine a time when you agreed to do something that went against your principles. How did that make you feel? Did it bring you closer to the person you want to be, or did it cause inner conflict and discomfort? Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from living in harmony with our own values, not from trying to meet the ever-changing expectations of others. Once you've identified your values, you'll find that the pressure to please others diminishes. When you know what you stand for, it becomes easier to make decisions that align with your true self. You can decline requests or invitations that don't align with your goals, and you'll no longer feel the need to justify your choices. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "There is no favorable wind for the sailor who doesn't know where to go." This is true for you as well. If you don't know what your values are, you'll be tossed around by the opinions and demands of others. But when you are clear on your values, every decision becomes an opportunity to strengthen your sense of self. Have you ever felt lost or uncertain because you weren't clear on what you truly value? How would your life change if you started making decisions based on your principles rather than on a desire to please others? Reflect on this as we move to the next lesson. Assessing requests with care. Once you know your values, The next step is to evaluate whether a request from others aligns with those values before deciding to say yes. 5. Assess requests carefully before saying yes. In your journey to stop being a people pleaser, another crucial step is learning to carefully assess requests before agreeing to them. How many times have you said yes impulsively, only to regret it later? Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by commitments that don't serve your goals, but you felt obligated to accept in order to avoid conflict or disappointment? This is a common trap for people pleasers, but Stoicism offers a solution: the art of thoughtful decision-making. Before agreeing to any request, Stoicism encourages us to pause and ask ourselves a few key questions. Does this align with my values? Will saying yes to this serve my long-term goals, or will it distract me from what's truly important? Do I have the time and energy to commit to this without sacrificing my own well-being? It's easy to get caught up in the moment and agree to help someone out of a sense of duty or guilt. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that we are not obligated to meet every request that comes our way. In fact, saying yes to everything often leads to resentment and burnout. Have you ever felt like you've spread yourself too thin, trying to meet everyone's expectations? How did that affect your emotional and mental well-being? One of the central tenets of Stoicism is learning to focus on what is within your control and letting go of what is not. When someone asks you to do something, you have full control over your response. You don't owe anyone an immediate answer. In fact, you can take a moment to reflect on whether this request fits into your life without compromising your own values and priorities. Imagine a scenario where a friend asks you for help with a personal project, but you already have a full schedule. Instead of agreeing on the spot, take a moment to think. Will helping this friend push you off course with your own commitments? Are they asking for help because they genuinely need your assistance? Or are they relying on you because they know you won't say no? When you pause and assess the request, you are taking back control of your decisions. Have you ever felt manipulated into saying yes? Or have you noticed that certain people repeatedly ask for favors, taking advantage of your generous nature? Stoicism teaches that we must be mindful of how others' actions affect us and make deliberate choices to protect our time and energy. If you feel that someone is exploiting your willingness to help, it's perfectly acceptable to decline. The key is to do so without guilt, knowing that your refusal is a way of respecting both your boundaries and your values. The next time someone asks you for a favor, don't feel pressured to respond immediately. Give yourself time to assess whether saying yes is the right choice for you. Does it align with your goals? Will it bring you closer to living the life you want? Or will it create unnecessary stress? By thoughtfully evaluating requests, you can prevent yourself from falling into the trap of people-pleasing. Remember, every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that could. When you prioritize requests that align with your values, you're taking a significant step toward living a more intentional and fulfilling life. What about you? Do you struggle with saying no? Have you ever felt overwhelmed by requests that pulled you away from your own priorities? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you manage this in your own life. Now that you understand how to assess requests carefully, we'll move on to another vital lesson in your journey toward breaking the habit of people-pleasing. Learning how to embrace conflict. Avoiding conflict is often at the heart of people-pleasing, but Stoic wisdom shows us that conflict is not something to fear. 6. Embrace conflict as an opportunity for growth. For many people-pleasers, conflict is something to be avoided at all costs. The thought of upsetting someone or causing tension can feel unbearable, leading you to compromise your own values and desires just to keep the peace. But what if I told you that conflict isn't something to fear? In fact, conflict can be an opportunity for growth, both in your relationships and in yourself. Stoicism teaches that conflict is a natural and inevitable part of life. Rather than avoiding it, the Stoic mindset encourages us to face it with calmness and reason. The goal isn't to seek out conflict, but to respond to it in a way that aligns with your principles. Have you ever been in a situation where you avoided conflict by saying yes when you really wanted to say no? How did that make you feel afterward? Did it strengthen your relationship, or did it leave you feeling frustrated and disconnected? When you avoid conflict to please others, you're not only betraying your own needs, you're also missing an opportunity to express your values and build stronger, more authentic relationships. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, you don't need to engage in destructive conflict, but you also don't need to surrender your values to avoid it. Think of a time when you faced conflict in a relationship, whether with a friend, colleague, or family member. Did avoiding the issue help resolve the underlying tension, or did it make things worse in the long run? Stoicism encourages us to face conflict directly, but with reason and emotional control. By doing so, you can maintain your integrity and find solutions that honor both your needs and the needs of others. It's also important to recognize that not all conflicts are worth engaging in. Part of embracing conflict with a Stoic mindset is learning to distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. If someone reacts negatively to you asserting your boundaries or saying no, that's their reaction to manage, not yours. You cannot control how others respond, but you can control how you handle the situation. Conflict can also be a tool for assessing the quality of your relationships. If someone reacts poorly when you set a boundary or express your needs, it may reveal that the relationship is based more on their convenience than on mutual respect. Are there relationships in your life that only seem harmonious when you're sacrificing your own needs? If so, is that really a relationship worth maintaining? By embracing conflict rather than fearing it, you allow yourself to grow. You build emotional resilience, strengthen your relationships, and reaffirm your commitment to living according to your values. Have you ever experienced personal growth as a result of facing conflict? How did standing up for yourself impact your relationships? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story and discuss how Stoicism can help you navigate conflicts in your own life. Next, let's explore another key principle in overcoming people-pleasing: the power of learning to say no. This simple act, which can seem so difficult, is a cornerstone of reclaiming your freedom and autonomy. 7. Learn to say no without guilt. For many people-pleasers, the word no is one of the hardest words to say. It feels uncomfortable, maybe even selfish, to turn down a request, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own. But learning to say no is one of the most empowering steps you can take to break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. How often have you said yes to something you didn't really want to do, only to feel resentment and regret afterward? What would your life look like if you could confidently say no when necessary, without guilt or fear? The teachings of Stoicism emphasize the importance of setting boundaries and protecting your time and energy. Saying no is a vital part of this practice. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals or values, you are sacrificing a part of yourself. How many times have you said yes, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't want to disappoint someone? And afterward, did it leave you feeling fulfilled, or did it leave you feeling drained? Saying no is not a rejection of others. It is an affirmation of your own worth and priorities. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own actions and choices, not for how others might perceive those choices. When you say no, you are taking control of your life and your time, ensuring that your decisions reflect your true values. One of the best ways to practice saying no is by starting small. Begin by saying no to minor requests that don't serve you, perhaps a social invitation you don't feel like attending, or a favor that will consume more time than you're willing to give. As you get more comfortable with saying no, You'll build confidence in your ability to protect your boundaries in more significant situations. Have you ever felt pressured to say yes simply to avoid conflict or to maintain harmony? How did it feel when you agreed to something that went against your own needs? The next time you're faced with a request that doesn't align with your values, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, does this contribute to my well-being? Is this something I truly want to do? If the answer is no, then give yourself permission to decline. When you say no, you're not being unkind or selfish, you're being honest. You are respecting your own needs and ensuring that you have the time and energy to focus on what truly matters to you. Remember, every yes comes with a cost. Is the cost of this yes worth it to you? By practicing the art of saying no, you'll find that your life becomes more intentional and aligned with your values. You'll no longer feel burdened by commitments that drain your energy, and you'll have more time to invest in the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. 8. Avoid making excuses and embrace honesty. Now that you've learned to say no without guilt, it's time to dive into another essential aspect of stopping people-pleasing: avoiding excuses. Have you ever caught yourself giving a long list of reasons why you can't do something, when a simple and honest no would have sufficed? Making excuses is a subtle way of softening the blow of saying no, but it often backfires. When you offer too many justifications, you invite others to question or challenge your reasons, leaving you in a position of defensiveness. Stoicism offers a more straightforward approach: honesty and clarity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This Stoic principle reminds us of the power of being truthful and straightforward in our interactions. When you say no, say it clearly, without unnecessary excuses. Not only does this communicate that you are firm in your decision, but it also prevents the other person from trying to find loopholes in your reasoning. Think about a time when you said no to someone but felt compelled to offer excuses. Did the excuses make the situation easier, or did they lead to more questions and pressure? Perhaps the person responded with, "Oh, but you could just do this instead," or "What if you rearrange your schedule?" Excuses give others the impression that your no is negotiable. On the other hand, a simple, honest no leaves little room for doubt and conveys respect for both yourself and the other person. Stoicism encourages us to live with integrity and authenticity. By avoiding excuses, you not only stand firm in your decisions, but you also uphold your personal values. There is strength in saying no and meaning it, without feeling the need to justify your every move. Imagine this scenario. A friend asks you to help them with a project over the weekend, but you've already planned to spend that time resting and recharging. Instead of making up an excuse, try responding honestly. "I won't be able to help this weekend because I need some time to myself." Notice how this response is respectful, clear, and leaves no room for negotiation. It is a direct reflection of your values, prioritizing self-care without dishonesty or unnecessary explanations. What if the other person reacts negatively or tries to guilt you into changing your mind? This is where Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control, our own actions, not the reactions of others. You cannot control how someone feels about your decision, but you can control how you communicate it. When you deliver a firm, honest response, you are living in alignment with your principles. If the other person does not respect that, it reveals more about them than about you. Are there areas in your life where you feel the urge to make excuses? How would your interactions change if you simply told the truth? Reflect on the power of honesty and how it can simplify your relationships. By avoiding excuses, you build trust with others and with yourself. You become someone who is reliable and firm in their values, and people will begin to respect your decisions more deeply. Now that you've embraced honesty, it's time to move on to the next powerful Stoic lesson: accepting that you can't please everyone. This is one of the most liberating realizations on your journey to break free from people-pleasing. 9. Accept that you can't please everyone. One of the greatest obstacles to overcoming people-pleasing is the belief that you can and should please everyone. This belief is not only unrealistic, but it also leads to constant anxiety, frustration, and a loss of personal identity. Stoicism offers a profound truth. You cannot control the thoughts, feelings, or reactions of others, and therefore, you should stop trying to shape your life around their approval. Marcus Aurelius captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Other people's opinions and expectations are beyond your control. No matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who disagrees with your choices, someone who isn't satisfied, someone who expects more than you can give. So why expend your energy trying to win their approval? Have you ever felt like you were walking on eggshells, afraid of upsetting someone with your choices? Did that constant effort to please them bring you happiness, or did it only deepen your stress? The Stoic approach is simple. Accept that you cannot and will not please everyone. In fact, attempting to do so only distances you from your true self. When you let go of the need to please others, you free yourself to live a life that is authentic and fulfilling. The desire to please everyone often stems from a fear of rejection. But Stoicism teaches us that true acceptance comes from within, not from others. The opinions of others are fleeting and unpredictable. One moment you may receive praise, and the next, criticism. If your sense of worth is tied to these external judgments, you will always be at the mercy of others' opinions. But if you find peace in living according to your values, you become untouchable by their approval or disapproval. Think of Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher. He lived a life of integrity, questioning societal norms and standing firm in his beliefs, even when it led to his trial and eventual death. Socrates did not seek to please the powerful or the masses. He sought only to live according to truth and wisdom. His life is a powerful reminder that being true to yourself is far more important than seeking the fleeting approval of others. How often do you base your decisions on what others might think of you? What would your life look like if you stopped seeking approval and started living for yourself? Take a moment to reflect on the relationships, commitments, or behaviors that are driven by a desire to please others. Are they serving your values, or are they pulling you further away from the person you want to be? Accepting that you cannot please everyone is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It is a declaration that your worth is not dependent on the opinions of others, but on how true you are to your own values. By letting go of this impossible goal, you allow yourself to focus on what truly matters, living a life of purpose, authenticity, and inner peace. If this lesson resonates with you, I encourage you to take action. In the comments below, share an example of a time when you let go of the need to please others. How did it feel? What did you learn from that experience? Your story might inspire someone else to embrace their own authenticity. As we move toward the final lesson, remember that Stoicism isn't about grand, immediate changes. It's about small, consistent actions that build a life of freedom and purpose. The next step in this journey is starting with small challenges to break the habit of people-pleasing. 10. Start with small challenges to build confidence. The road to breaking free from people-pleasing doesn't happen overnight. Like all lasting change, it's a process that requires patience, practice, and persistence. Stoicism teaches that transformation is not about making sudden, dramatic shifts, but about taking small, consistent steps toward your goal. When it comes to stopping people-pleasing, starting with small challenges is one of the most effective ways to build your confidence and reclaim control over your life. Why small challenges? Human behavior is largely shaped by habits, and habits take time to change. If you've spent years or even decades saying yes to everyone, trying to please others at the expense of your own needs, it's unrealistic to expect that you can completely transform this behavior overnight. Stoicism encourages gradual, thoughtful progress, knowing that each small victory builds momentum for larger changes. Consider this. What is one small request you can say no to today? Perhaps it's turning down a social invitation when you'd rather spend time recharging. Maybe it's declining to take on an extra task at work that will stretch you too thin. Start small and see how it feels. You might be surprised by the sense of empowerment that comes from taking control of your decisions, even in minor situations. When you begin with small challenges, you create opportunities for success. Each time you say no, set a boundary, or prioritize your needs, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of living according to your values. These small steps gradually replace the old habit of people-pleasing with a new habit, living authentically and assertively. Do you find it overwhelming to imagine saying no to larger, more important requests? That's perfectly normal. Stoicism teaches us to take the long view, understanding that progress happens one step at a time. By starting small, you're building the foundation for greater changes in the future. As you become more comfortable with asserting yourself in smaller situations, you'll find it easier to stand firm in more significant circumstances. Think of the small challenges as training for the bigger moments in life. Just as an athlete builds strength and endurance through consistent, small efforts, you too will build the emotional resilience and confidence needed to tackle larger challenges. Over time, you'll notice that the fear of disappointing others diminishes, replaced by a growing sense of self-respect and inner peace. What small challenge can you take on today? Perhaps it's as simple as saying no to something that doesn't serve your goals, or setting aside time for yourself without guilt. Whatever it is, take that step. Each small action moves you closer to the freedom of living according to your values, not the expectations of others. You've now explored 10 powerful Stoic principles that can help you stop being a people pleaser and start living a life of authenticity, autonomy, and peace. From understanding the root cause of your behavior to setting clear boundaries, prioritizing your needs, and embracing conflict, each step brings you closer to reclaiming your life from the cycle of external validation. Remember, Stoicism is about progress, not perfection. You don't need to change everything overnight. Start small, be patient with yourself, and trust that every step you take is moving you in the right direction. I encourage you to take action today. Reflect on the lessons that resonated most with you. Which area of your life would benefit from saying no more often? What values do you need to prioritize to live more authentically? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these principles have impacted you. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with others who may be struggling with people-pleasing. And don't forget to subscribe for more content on Stoicism and personal growth. Together, we can build a community of individuals committed to living with purpose, integrity, and inner strength. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I wish you all the best as you continue to apply these Stoic lessons to your life. Stay true to yourself, and may you find the freedom and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your values.